we arrive in Berlin, in the laboratory for the anatomical study of the human brain established by Cécile and her husband Oskar Vogt, where they used the most advanced techniques of the time in histology specimens preparation. The neurobiological laboratory was at the beginning a private institution, not involved in university teaching. From 1914, it was expanded to include the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Brain Research that will later become the Max Planck Institute for Brain Research. Cécile Vogt's work on morphology of the nervous system contributed to a new understanding about the interaction of different regions of the brain. In 1924, she became co-editor of the German Journal for Psychology and Neurology. In 1932, she was elected into the German Academy of Sciences Leopoldine-Halle, the highest academic distinction given by an institution in Germany. In 1950, she was awarded with the first-class National Prize of East Germany and became a member of the German Academy of Sciences at Berlin. Augustine Marie Cécile Mounier was born in Annecy, France, in 1875. Her parents never legally married, and she didn't know it until 1933, when the National Socialists requested her to prove her Aryan descent, and she was unable to provide a birth certificate. She began to study medicine in Paris at the age of 18. She was one of the first females admitted. The French neurologist Pierre-Marie offered her to work in his research team at the Bicêtre Hospital. There, she met her future husband Oskar Vogt, a German scientist that was spending in Paris a period of time in the laboratory of Auguste and Jules Dagerin. Mounier Vogt, before meeting Oskar, gave birth to a girl, Claire, which Oskar adopted after the marriage. They had 2 more daughters, Marthe and Marguerite, both of whom became successful scientists. Mounier Vogt started her doctorate in Paris, but then she moved to Berlin after getting married. There, she completed her work and earned a doctorate degree in 1900 for a dissertation in neuroanatomy. The proportion of women pursuing doctorates in medicine at the time was still only 6%. 30 years later, women were first admitted to medical studies. Her doctoral work was aimed to study the myelination in the cerebral hemispheres. She compared the brain myelination at early developmental age in different mammals and concluded that the myelination process appeared to be very similar in all the studied animals, in contrast with the dominant opinion that the human brain was fundamentally different from the animal one. In Berlin, Cécile Mounier Vogt started to use the cortical electrical stimulation among very few other scientists in Europe, including Lord Sherrington in the UK. In her first paper on the myeloarchitecture of the thalamus, she identified several nuclei of the thalamus and their connections. This was a groundbreaking work for the modern understanding of the physiology of the thalamus. Consistently with her interest in the functional correlates of neuroanatomical substrates, she used to correlate the patient's clinical diagnosis with their neuropathological findings. She focused on the lesions of the striatum as a cause of pseudobulbar palsy, and in some cases she examined brains belonging to members of the same family who died with this condition. This allowed her to make some assumptions on hereditary diseases that were very innovative and visionary for the time. Although Cécile Mounier Vogt was greatly contributing to the scientific advancements in the center directed by her husband, it was only between the years 1919 and 1937 that she held a formal paid position as a scientist at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute. Cécile and Oskar Vogt worked with Corbin and Brodmann in defining many such architectonic subdivisions of mammalian and human brain. The relationship between Brodmann and de Vogts was compromised after they published the first results on electrical excitability of cortical regions in 1907 without listing him as a co-author. Their approach to psychiatric disease was quite ahead of time. They believed that each psychiatric disease had a precise anatomical localization, meaning that it had biological basis, although not known yet. According to this idea, they became quite early very critical on the Freud's theories of psychoanalysis that were very in vogue at the time. The Vogts were very liberal, pacifist, and truly believed that science had to be cosmopolitan. They always hired their collaborators based on their capability rather than their nationality or religion. Despite the continuous threats by the National Socialists and false accusations by other scientists close to the new political establishment. After massive assaults from the National Socialists in the year after 1933, during which they were receiving threatening inspections and accusations, Cécile and Oskar left the institute in Berlin. From 1937, they continued their work at a privately financed Institute for Brain Research and General Biology at Neustadt near Freiburg in the Black Forest. The research institute was considerably smaller and with fewer researchers than the institute in Berlin, but they managed to continue researches and host international scientists. After Oskar's death in 1959, Cécile went to live with her daughter Martha in Cambridge, England, and she died there in 1962. These are the stories of 7 women born in the 19th century who worked hard to become scientists and published pioneering works in their fields. These women have been largely forgotten, and this is a journey in time and space to meet and remember them. It's time to get in. The train is ready to start another journey.
Giocando a spinetta ai altri giochi, mi gode fugace de quelle maschera.